It's 9 p.m. in Djibouti. It's time to English New Edition for tonight headlines. We have the President of the Republic receives a delegation from the African Union led by Thabo Mbeki, the former U.S. South President. Anglais Suleiman, who wins silver medals in Paris. For the international scene, 200,000 Rohingya commemorated 2 years of their exile. Welcome to our newsroom. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, left the country early this Monday afternoon for Japan, precisely the city of Yokohama, where he will take part for 2 days from 28 to 30 August 2019 in the seventh sessions of the Tokyo International Conference on African Development, TICAD. The main themes on this agenda of this summit is dedicated to transforming and diversifying the African economy. These components of the discussions will focus on highlighting Africa's ability to profile new income-generating activity, new information and communication technology, ICTs, and the optimal use of renewable energy are at first glance two sectors with great potential on which Africa is able to base its economic renewable and diversifications. The strengthening of resilience in Africa, subsidiary theme also on the agenda of this seventh TICAD sessions. It is a forum to encourage Africa to further pursue the effort already endorsed in the area of combating food insecurity and thirst. TICAD, which stands for Tokyo International Conference on African Development, was established in 1993 to promote high-level between African leaders and their development partners. Meetings organized under the leadership of Japan and co-organized by the United Nations, UNDP, the World Bank, and African Union Commission since 2013. With TICAD, Japan occupies a central position in promoting international dialogue for African development. TICAD's innovative approaches include the concept of African ownership and international partnership, promoting the participations of international organizations, donors, country, the private sector, and civil society organizations. The various TICAD summit has been held in Japan every 5 years until 2013. Since then, this summit has been held every 3 years, alternately in Africa and Japan. In 2016, this is the first time this summit is being held in Nairobi, Kenya, marking the first editions of TICAD on African soil. This initiative expanded to the growing desires of an African in fuel expansionist in terms of economic growth, and which is taking charge of its development program. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, accompanied by 77 prominent figures from the business and academic community, demonstrate the strong commitment made by Japan's public and private sectors. This seventh summit of the International Conference on African Development will open in Yokohama from 28 to 13 August at the initiative of the Japanese government jointly with the United Nations Development Programs, the African Union Commissions, and the World Bank. It will focus on 3 key themes: accelerating economic transformation, the business and investment climate, building sustainable society, and building foundations for prosperity and security on the African continent. Our ambassador in Tokyo, Mr. Ahmed Araita Ali, tell us more in this interview.
D'un quart de siècle environ, ça date de 1993, et nous en sommes.
The head of state receives the president of the African Union high-level implementation panels. The president of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, received late this Monday morning at the Palace of the Republic the chairman of the African Union high-level implementations panel and former head of state of South Africa, Mr. Thabo Mbeki, leading a large delegations including officials also from IGAD and the United Nations system. The visit of the delegation is led by Thabo Mbeki to Djibouti is part of an African Union mission to endorse a process of greater economic and security integration in the Horn of Africa. Several themes, including the achievement of greater co-management and engagement of Horn of Africa member countries in the prevention and resolutions of conflicts in the part of the war, were addressed during this meeting. Sudan, Southern Sudan and Somalia are all countries in the Horn of Africa that are suffering from instability and dissensions and whose initiations of an integrated regional peace process would improve their ability to achieve peace and security. The former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, has an interview answered. Listen to him, please.
The African Union decided that one of the important challenges which the continent of Africa faces is the issue of the integration of the Horn of Africa. And therefore, they established a panel to deal with that issue. So I'm chairing that panel. And fortunately, it's so not only a panel of the African Union, but it also includes IGAD and also includes the United Nations. So we are here together as that team, that panel of three, to discuss with the President the matter of the integration of the Horn of Africa, this region. But also to discuss with the President the question about the matters relating to the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, has in an interview explained as discussions between President Guelleh and the delegation led by Mr. Thabo Mbeki focused on strengthening the economic and trade integrations of countries in the Horn of Africa. In this regard, the main focus was on ways and means of ratifying in the rest of the region the process of economic and commercial complementarity largely initiated between the Republic of Djibouti and the Democratic and Federal Republic of Ethiopia. The Prime Minister, His Excellency Al-Haj Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, received this morning in his cabinet the new resident representative of the World Bank, Mr. Boubacar Sid Barry. He was introduced to the Prime Ministers by Marina Weiss, World Bank Regional Directors for Djibouti, Yemen and Egypt. The discussions focus on the various achievements of the World Bank and the prospect that the World Bank plans to undertake within the Republic of Djibouti. Mr. Boubacar is from Guinea origins and an economist with more than 17 years of experience at World Bank and the African Development Bank. Before his appointment as a World Bank resident representative in Djibouti, Mr. Barry was for 6 years senior advisor to Jean-Claude Chachwang, Executive Directors for Djibouti at World Bank. Also present at this interview, the technical advisors to the Prime Minister, Mr. Ali Silay Abdallah, the High Commissioner for the Plains, Amare Said. An important meeting took place yesterday in the offices of the Minister of Economy and Finance in charge of Industry, Ilyas Musa Dawale, with the delegations from the World Bank led by the regional directors of the World Bank for Djibouti, Egypt and Yemen, Ms. Marina Weiss, and accompanied by the new resident representative, Mr. Boubacar Sid Barry, and Kadar Mohamed, operations officer. After the presentations of the new World Bank resident representative in Djibouti, the government members and the delegation reviewed the commitment and government's priority. In addition to financing development projects, the World Bank support the Republic of Djibouti in several technical assistance projects, including issues relating to the development of human capital and the digital economy and youth employment. For her part, Housing Minister Amina Abdi Adenis said that several projects funded by the World Bank are being implemented, such as the Zero Slums project to improve the living conditions of people living in urban areas. For her part, the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mona Osman Aden, said that the World Bank is a very important partner in addressing the various challenges. For his part, the Minister of Economy and Finance, Ilyas Moussa Dawale, recalled that Djibouti and World Bank have a very good relationship, and also wished the new World Bank representative in Djibouti every success. The Minister of Trade of the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Mr. Hassan Muhammad Arbahim, participated in the Indonesian-African Dialogue on Infrastructure in Bali, Indonesia from 20 to 21 August 2019. The Indonesian African Infrastructure Dialogue 2019 took place from 20 to 21 August 2019 under the high patronage of Joko Widodo, President of the Republic of Indonesia. This crucial event was attended by several heads of state, African ministers, and approximately 4,000 delegates from African Union member state, President, and served of multilateral organizations, young entrepreneurs, as well as high-level businessmen. The Minister of Commerce of the Republic of Djibouti, of Indonesia, in Garsin Lukita, the Minister of Trade of Djibouti, Hassan Muhammad Arbahim, met on 21 August in Bali the Indonesians on the margins of the Indonesia-African Infrastructure Dialogue. The Secretary of State for Decentralization, Mr. Hamidou Mohamed Aramis, received the new UNICEF representative in Djibouti, Ms. Melva Johnson, this morning in his office for the contact visit. The Secretary of State for Decentralization welcomed him to Djibouti, and the Secretary of State for Decentralization, he took the opportunity to present to his interlocutor a brief history of decentralization in Djibouti, while highlighting the current resistance and existence of political will at the highest level of the state to advance these important reforms and state, hence the creations of the head of state, His Excellency Ismail Magele, at the beginnings of the fourth terms in office in a department dedicated to him, with a roadmap and an inter-ministerial reflection structure is composed of the Secretary Generals to monitor the related work. The Secretary of State for Decentralization reminded that UNICEF is a strategic partner for her department, citing, among others, things it supports in the file of civil status in various forms. Djibouti flag flies in the French capital, Paris, with the second place silver medals for our international champions at Diamond Leagues meetings in Paris. The champion Ayale Suleiman win the silver medals with second place in 1,500 meters at the Diamond League meeting in Paris, with the times of 3 minutes 13 seconds. Second place synonymous of the silver medal acquired in the 1,500 meters at the Diamond League of Paris last night by our champions Ayale Suleiman, narrowly missing the gold medalist with times of 3 minutes for Ayale Suleiman, who won the silver medalist, and the gold medalist for Uganda Musagala Ronaldo, who won the gold with a times of 3 minute 13 seconds in front of our champion Ayale Suleiman in Finnish Photo Secretary of State for Youth and Sport. Hassan Mohamed Kamil extends his warm congratulations to our national stars and wishes event more medals at the African Games in Rabat. On August 26, 2019, at around the General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of the General Staff of the Armed Forces, received in his office the extraordinary and plenipotentiary ambassador of the Russian Federation to the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Mikhail Golovanov. This was the first contact between the two civil and military authorities, who together discussed the bilateral relations between the two countries, particularly in the field of defense and security. Also present at this meeting, the Djibouti Defense Attaché stationed in the Russian capital in Moscow, Djibouti Air Force Commander, and the Director of the International Relations of Djibouti Armed Forces. The Director of the National Police, Colonel Abdullah Abdi Farah, today received a large Sudanese delegation led by Sudanese Police General Adil Mohammed Ahmed. The friendship and cooperation between the two institutions and how they work more together were discussed during the meetings between the Sudanese Police General and the Director of the National Police, Colonel Abdullah Abdi Farah. It should be recalled that the delegation is led by the Sudanese Police General Adil Mohammed Ahmed is touring the countries of the Horn of Africa. For his part, the Director General of the National Police, Colonel Abdullah Abdi Farah, he also has the bilateral relations between the two friendly and brotherly countries. He discussed, he wished a warm welcome to General of the Sudanese Police and reiterate all his unwavering support. In an interview granted to the RTD, the head of the Sudanese delegation, General Adil Mohammed Ahmed, expressed his satisfaction with this visit to Djibouti. As part of the preparations for the start of 2019-2020 school years, the cleaning and sanitation campaign of the capital's public schools began on Monday, 27 August. On Mondays, 27 August, and will continue through the week. This year again, these operations involve elements of the various constitutional bodies such as Gendarmerie, the National Forces, Armed Forces, the Police, Republican Guard, the National Navy, the Air Force, Civil Defense, and the Coast Guard. The National Gendarmerie was busy at Balbala High School, Balbala 2, and Hayal Said High School, while the Republican Guard, the Coast Guard, was on the jobs at Pika 12 High School. The Republican Guard, for his part, was in charges of Charles Foucault College, Annex 2 School, and the SPA schools. The officers supervising these cleanup operations have expressed their full satisfaction with the work of the soldiers who carry out these civilian missions with enthusiasm and dedication as is engaged. The civic responsibility of each Djiboutian is the head of the schools and the head of the schools say they are very satisfied and express their sincere thanks to the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mustafa Mohamed Mahmoud, and to the various Djibouti constitute bodies. within the framework of the African Games organized in Kingdoms of Morocco from 19 to 31 August, to which the Republic of Djibouti is committed in several sports disciplines, namely athletics, karate, swimming, taekwondo, camping, table tennis, and judo. Karate Khalid Amr Abdelaziz lost to his opponents from Sierra Leone in the less than 16 kilogram category. This testifies to the vocations of young Djiboutians for martial art disciplines, not to mention the combined support of the State Secretariat for Youth and Sport and the National Olympic Committee. In table tennis, the young table tennis players lost their team game for the athletics. The first group arrived in Rabat and others are expected in the coming days, at particularly Ayale Suleiman, who was running the Diamond Leagues in Paris over 1,500 meters by ranking second with a times of the silver medalist. Djibouti is expected in Addis Ababa in the Sululta Mountains. The Secretary of State for Youth and Sport, Hassan Mohamed Kamil, and the Minister of Labor in charge of administration reforms, Isman Ibrahim Roble, affected by the death of the late Lula Mohamed Dileita, sisters of the former Prime Minister Dileita Mohamed Dileita, joins the waves of emotions aroused by the loss of these great figures of the nation, and offers his deepest sympathy to the great family of Dileita Mohamed. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. For the international scene in Bangladesh, 200,000 Rohingya are commemorating the 2 years of their exile. About 200,000 members of Rohingya Muslim ethnic groups demonstrate in a refugee camp in Bangladesh to commemorate the second anniversary of their exile from Burma. Some 704,000 Rohingya fled the Burmese state of Rakhine West in August 2017 following an armed crackdown in Burma, a country with a large Buddhist majority. Entire families had joined 200,000 persecuted refugees already living in the camps on the other sides of the borders in Bangladesh under very difficult conditions. UN investigators have denounced a genocide of Rohingya, calling for the persecutions of Burmese generals. Burma rejected these accusations, claiming to have defended itself against attack by Rohingya rebels against police stations. This is it for the news. Thanks for watching us.